All right, so we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna make this video kind of beginner friendly. Ended early today, so you had an hour to do nothing. That's great days. So we're gonna make this a little beginner friendly, just kind of maybe a little over explain things that I typically don't. So including the start, because I remember when I first played this game, how the beginning was just a little overwhelming of like, what do I even do to get going? So we're gonna start here by going to new colony. And the first thing you're gonna see is there's gonna be 4 scenarios. And I highly recommend doing crash landed to begin with. Crash landed, you start with 3 pawns, you start with a bunch of materials. The map is scattered with some other materials that will be valuable for you. You also get 1 animal. Where does that say? Somewhere in here. Talks about you get an animal. So this is the one we're going to start with. You're greeted by 3 storytellers. You got Cassandra Classic, Phoebe Chillax, and Randy Random. Randy tends to be a fan favorite. Phoebe's a little bit more for the average beginner. And Cassandra is predictable. So Cassandra and Phoebe are both predictable. And Cassandra can actually send 2 raids in a certain time period, whereas Phoebe only attacks once. Randy, you don't know when he's going to attack in his time period, but the attacks are going to average the same amount of attacks that you'd get from a Cassandra. So they're all great in their own areas. We're going to start with Cassandra for this, just because a little more predictable, and we're going to go from there. You're going to see that there's different difficulties. The base one to start with would be Strive to Survive. I believe this is the one that starts. So if we go here, we select a Strive to Survive, starts at 100% threat scale. So this is in the game, you're going to get different kind of raids and different events. Some good, some bad, some harder, some easier to deal with. If you start on the game with Strive to Survive, it starts the threat scale at 100%. You go lower to Adventure Story, it drops it down to 60. Community Builder, only 30% threat. The hardest one in the game is Losing is Fun. That's this one up here. You can actually make the game even harder, and we're gonna make the game a little bit harder. And we're gonna choose the custom, choose Losing is Fun, and then we're gonna increase that threat scale all the way up to the maximum difficulty that the game allows without putting additional mods on. Hey, the 01234, welcome in. So we're just doing a nice chillax start colony, and we're doing a little over explaining here. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, but just really meant for like a beginner, someone that's really diving into the game for the first time, where I'm going to be over explaining some stuff. Hope you're doing well, buddy. So another mod that I have on is called the No Pause Challenge mod, and it makes it so that you can't pause the game. I definitely don't recommend this for someone that's brand new, because it's really great to be able to pause, make decisions, set up strategies, plan things out. I personally like the No Pause Challenge more because it makes the game a real-time strategy, which is my favorite play style for games. So we're going to go ahead and do No Pause Challenge. Welcome in, Linzar. And we're going to select commitment mode. So you have 2 different modes. Reload anytime. When I first started, I was doing reload anytime because you get a bad raid, you don't handle it well, you just reload, start over again. One of your pawn has a bad event, you misclick something, bad event, reload. Commitment mode's not as forgiving. There's still a way to bypass that by doing Alt F4, which closes out your program, and then you can reload to the previous save point, which defaulted is every single day. It'll take a save point. So if your bad thing that happens to you right before that or right after that may be better or worse for you, just depending on what kind of thing happens. So we're going to go with the commitment mode here, just because it makes the stakes a little bit greater. Theo, you might try No Pause sometime. You're just doing a normal, highly modded combat extended. Right on. And it's Losing is Fun. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Yeah. And I did that I started the game with being able to pause it. I worked my way up in difficulty, and then I jumped over to the no pause. And it just seemed like a natural transition for me. And you're doing 500% difficulty. Kudos to you, man. So the next screen that we're presented with gives you some options. This seed here makes it so that when we go into the next step here, which is a world, it makes it very, very customized because it keys off of the text in here. This really doesn't, it could just be gibberish. This world is going to be different than that world. It's going to be different than that world. It's going to be different than that world. And all I did was delete characters each time. Every single one of these worlds is going to be a little bit different. Every single one. So if you wanted to follow along and play the same exact seed, you'd have to have every single mod that I have on and type in the same exact seed. If you don't do it that, then the world's going to be completely different from mine, what I'm about to show you, from yours. So I'm getting requested to type in pencil, which is just as good as any other, because look, we hit random and it just goes amongst gibberish words, random key phrases. So pencil's fine. You can do pencil. The other things you're going to have here is globe coverage. You can change this. This doesn't affect it really at all. All it makes is when it loads up the next screen, it takes a little bit longer to generate a 50% globe as a 100%. We'll just go ahead and do 100%. Got a decent computer here. It'll generate the whole world. Then you can kind of see all the tiles around. The other things are kind of self-explanatory. You have an overall rainfall. You can toggle this in between low to high. Default is normal. Temperature of the globe, same thing there. And we'll leave it at default and normal. Population has sparse and crowded. And my preferred preference is actually to go a little bit more crowded, because when we go to the next slide here, you're going to see a globe with different factions. And here's the different factions that you start against. You're going to start with 2 factions that are neutral to you every single time if you leave the defaults on. And that's going to be these purple houses and these yellow tribal huts. Those 2 are going to be neutral, and it's really good to get a base nearby so you can trade with them. These other ones, this blue one here and this green one here, start off enemies with you, but you can become neutral and become an ally with them by trading or giving them gifts. The ones further down, you can never become allied. You can never become neutral with these 4. So you start off with 4 potential allies, 4 that you can never make your allies. Purple is always going to start off neutral. Yellow is always going to start off neutral. And what that means is you could trade with them, but you can't ask them for ally special favors, which are other things later on down in the game that you can do. Welcome in, El. Theo's got a mod that allows him 6,000 factions. So you can add in more, but by default, this is a great starting point to start with. So we're going to leave it like this. Purple, thing to take away, purple and yellow are going to be neutral with you. So when we pick our next tile, that's where you're going to want to pick. So it's taking a little bit longer here because we did 100% globe coverage. So as you can see, we've got a globe here. It looks similar to Earth. It's a RimWorld. And you can just kind of scroll around and see that there's a whole bunch of places. Every single one of these tiles is available for you to play. There's these little hexagons, and you can start anywhere. You have arid shrublands, you have desert, you have extreme deserts, you have temperate forests. These shapes here, these ones are hills or mountains. These are impassable mountains. So when you want to send caravans out, it's part of the strategy, you can't pass over them. There's roads that pre-exist. So like this is a super highway, so it's going to have roads already on your map. This is a regular kind of highway road. It's got roads on your map. Doesn't really affect a whole lot of the game. I mean, maybe more pass through if you're on one of those, maybe less. But what's something really important to think about is that when you have roads on your tile that you start with, they actually add wealth. And wealth on your map, on your tile, causes the raids to be larger, because the raids that get sent against you are determined based off of one thing, is wealth. So I prefer not to start on a road because it automatically generates wealth for you. My preference when I start this is to start on a temperate forest without any mountains. A lot of people like to play on mountain bases, and if you play on a mountain base, one thing to take note of is that these have special features, if they list special features. And the only special feature I've ever seen is caves. The special features with caves will have insects in them, and they'll be primed for insect events. All these other ones won't start with insect on them, so if you click one next to it, no caves there. Special feature caves, special feature no caves. So you click a different one, click caves. So as a brand new beginner to this game, I recommend not dealing with caves. Once you learn how to deal with them, really not a big deal, and also can benefit your playstyle. Because if you get raiders, you can actually make it so that the raids will go and target the insects before they target you. So things to take note of are the blue houses, which will not be allied with you, the green, which will not be neutral with you. You want to start, my recommendation, next to purple and yellow. And the purple houses are better because they're going to have better technology, whereas tribal, they're not going to have technology, so you're not going to get guns and such from them. So I would recommend, you know, a place somewhere that's nearby some purples. Like this would be great. You know, somewhere up here would be great. Another thing to take note of is you're going to have different grow periods. So right now we've got year-round growing. We come up here, still year-round. 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 Wow. A lot of year-round here. 40-60. So that means 40 days. In RimWorld, 1 year is 60 days. So on this tile, 40 days will have good grow weather, and then 20 days won't. So you just kind of got to prepare for cold weather, make a little bit more food in the grow periods. You remember when your insects run that you quit and got better and never went back? Yeah, there's something about it. You know, as a brand new beginner, I recommend avoiding insects. Later on, you know, the world's your oyster. So today, I made it so that we're going to do a random. So I'm going to hit random here, select random site, and it's going to put us anywhere on this globe. A little scary, but that's how we're going to play. So here we go with a random. Before I do that though, I'm going to go into advanced, and I prefer to play, so the default is this 250 by 250. I prefer, because my play style that I like real-time strategy is I like to be able to do what you call kiting, which is you run around shooting and then run, shoot, and a larger map really helps with that. So I'm going to select 275 by 275, and then we're going to select this random site. Again, I don't recommend you do that if you're a brand new beginner. Find a nice temperate that's flat and year-round grow period nearby purples. Not too close, because if you try and settle right next to one, you actually get a message that says that you're going to get negative faction with them. So you don't want to do that, because you just don't want to add complexities. Later on, no problem, you can do it, because there's ways to keep them allied or keep them neutral with you. So just select, I think it's about 7 tiles away or something like that from a couple purples. That'd be my recommendation. Now that being said, we're going to go ahead and select random site. So I'm going to hit this, and boom, this is where we're going. We're going to a desert. So it's a 30-60, it's a cold desert. It's putting us on with some hills, which is actually going to be beneficial to us because the hills are going to have mineable minerals like steel. So primarily, when you play this game on a temperate forest, you're going to play with trees and you're going to use wood to craft stuff. Here, we're going to be using a lot of steel to craft. Also, we don't really have a trader right next to us. We have these pirates. This signifies pirate faction. We do have, at least they're somewhat nearby. We didn't go off on an island. Hey, Christy. We're doing a chill session today, and we're just doing a little over-explaining for beginners. So if you have any questions, feel free to, type in. So we just clicked the select random site, and we landed on this tile here. We're going to take small hills. It's a 30-60. We're going to be a little sparse on food. Heading update. I think I updated it, didn't I? Oh my goodness, it didn't save. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, my goodness. I don't know why that didn't happen. Okay, so RimWorld. And this is no DLCs, 500% difficulty, no pause, and we're doing beginner, over explain. If I can spell that right. Yeah, I appreciate it, Christy. My goodness, man. And I even had everything tagged and everything. I don't know why it didn't do that. Oh, it did. It saved my tags. Okay. Oh, whatever. Thank you. It's updated now. Okay, so we're on desert. We're going to start here. And this takes us into the next part where you can either just go right away with these three here, or you can swap in from the lower, mix and match. Now, something for brand new beginners, what I highly recommend is focusing on a pawn, and we call these pawns. These characters are all pawns. We want one that's got some sort of passion in construction, one that's got a passion in plants, one that's got a passion in cooking. And then there's certain skill levels that we want them to potentially have as well, and I'll explain those as we do that. So there's 3 pawns in this scenario. We want one of those to have a passion in each. And then we also want them to have a secondary, at least somewhat skilled in medical and social. And the medical will help with healing. The social will help with recruiting and growing. Game critique now lurk. Thank you, Christy. Thank you so much. So I've also got a mod on, which is going to allow me to speed up this process. You don't have to do this. You could just click this randomize and it's going to give us a new pawn. You can take one from the lower, randomize like this and get pawns, and it just rolls. It rolls all these things. So your pawns are going to have a childhood story, which contributes some skills and maybe takes away things that they can do. And an adulthood, like in this example, hunting's disabled, so they can't do any kind of violence. You're going to have good traits. You're going to have traits that are neutral. You're going to have bad traits. This video isn't so much about going into all of that, but just know that there's some traits that you're going to prefer, some that you're going to be neutral, and some that are going to be making your pawns really amazing. These are your skills here. They go from 0 to 20, and if they have a dash, that means they cannot do them. Health, this is going to be a starting health conditions that they have. So if we click on, this person has a heart issue, this person has a right foot that has an old gunshot. They can have relations, they can have possessions. And that all just kind of is random. They get random things popped in there. I've got a mod called Random Plus, which makes it so that I can pipe in preferences. So for example, I don't want them to start with any health conditions, and I don't want them to be incapable of doing any tasks for my starting 3 pawns. So I'm going to specify that. If when I click the random button were to roll, it would just roll to the next one and roll to the next one. I also like to start with age 18. Age 18 means that they can do hauling at the maximum capacity of an adult. 17 and younger have weight restrictions. And then we really want to reduce potential health conditions. So I'm 39 years old. I like to think that I can make it into this colony, even though maybe I wouldn't survive on a crash landed planet, but hey, why not? So 18 to 39, there's a couple traits that I automatically skip because there's a couple traits that cause your pawns, even if they're extremely happy, to have potential for breakdown. You have 0 control. So if you're in a combat situation, they could just break down even if they're super happy. And that's a gourmand and a pyromaniac. So this tool allows me to go in, and I'm going to select gourmand first, hit OK. And then I'm going to add in pyromaniac. And you've got it too, Theo. Awesome. It sets them to required. This little arrow here is going to make it so that I can change it to a pool or one more, and it's going to do exclude. I'm going to set those both to exclude. All the other traits we can deal with maybe, or I can just roll past them. But gourmand, pyromaniac, they tend to pop up with other good traits, and then it's like, oof. I'm going to make an exception. Nope, no exception. Don't want a gourmand, don't want a pyromaniac. So for our first pawn, I said we wanted construction. So we're going to select a single passion, and we want them to have at least a skill of 4. 5, 6, 7, 10 are going to be way better, but at least skill of 4, because at skill 4 they can build chairs, they can build beds, they can build walls, they can build traps. So that's going to be our first pawn, and it took good. Okay, everything else is fine. That's it. That's all we're going to customize there. So now when I hit random, it's going to search for one of those. Boom, it got us a double construction 10. They're pretty. Pretty is actually a negative trait, typically, because it causes other pawns to flirt with them. And if another pawn flirts with them and they don't like it, then they get a negative mood from that each time that pawn does that. So pretty is actually not a great trait. Great memory, great trait. When you get higher skill level, like a skill 10, if they don't sit there and build, they actually lose skill points. Great memory means that they're going to lose them at a reduced amount. Theo requesting we name one pin. No problem. Got one pin right here. So the name right here in the middle is the nickname, and that's what's going to show up over their name, just like you saw it adjust right here. They can have a first and last and then a nickname. So we're going to go with this as our first pawn. Second pawn, we're going to remove those, and we're going to go with plants. And we really don't need to care what level they get, whatever. We're just going to let them go because there's some things that we want, like heal root, that require, I think it's 8. There's psychoid, which will get us drugs that require 6. But they're going to level up really fast, especially if you plant rice. Now I'm thinking we're going to be doing desert, so we're not going to be planting rice here. We're going to be planting potatoes because we're going to have really bad soil, and potatoes are the best thing. So let's go ahead and give us a 4, just like we did the previous one. So here we're going to roll. Boom. We get a plants, double passion 8. Now the problem here is a slow learner, and it could be okay. He's not going to get a slow learner is basically your whole game. They're going to get their skill levels are going to stay this way. Sometimes you can get a slow learner that is an exceptionally good pawn, like this one right here is really good at plants. But since he's one of our starting pawns, it's so easy to skip past it. Psychically sensitive is usually a negative in the base game because there's psychic events which will cause them a mood increase or decrease. And this just makes it so that their sensitivity to those events are greater. Typically, it's not a great trait to have. Jealous is a wash when you play my playstyle, which is I like to play with barracks as opposed to each pawn getting their own room. If we played that style, the way that you would play with this pawn is you would make it so that their room is better than all the other pawns in the colony. If you have just one jealous pawn, not a big deal. If you have multiple jealous pawns, that's where you start having issues. With my style of playing a barracks where everyone lives in the same room, jealous pawn is a wash. It doesn't do anything. So we're going to actually skip this pawn. We'll look for another psychically sensitive. Nimble is a great melee. And quick sleeper is like almost god tier. It makes it so that they're so much more productive if they're resting 50% better. So this pawn is actually a really good pawn. They're coming with the double passion shooting. That's what the 2 flames mean. And I can break that down a little bit. You see right there where it says learning speed. A double passion causes them to learn at 150%. A single passion causes them to learn at 100%. And no passion causes 35%. That other one that we had previously that was a slow learner, all of these percentages would have been dramatically decreased. So this is actually a good one to start with. So we're going to go ahead and take Dixon. 6 is solid. We may use them as mining later on. You know, one thing I mentioned was social. I like to have at least a social 6, but you know, social fine is going to do just fine. This one already has medical 4, which is better than 3. So these 2 are great. If they didn't have it, when I go in here, I would have specified for our cook to have one of those. And you know what? Since we didn't, and I'm going to do a 4, I'm going to do social 6. A 5 is really, really close. But what social 6 does is it makes it when you want to arrest someone that comes into your tile, a 6, a pawn with a social 6 will arrest them 100% of the time. So it's great to start with a pawn that's your social pawn that's 6. Also, when you do arrest them, when you recruit them, the higher social skill, the less time it will take you to recruit them into your colony. So let's go ahead and random this. And it found one real fast, a beautiful teetotaler. Remember what I mentioned before? Beautiful is not good. Teetotaler, I prefer to have my colonies use drugs. As a brand new beginner, I did not like that. So teetotaler was fine back then, but we're gonna roll past. Try again. Steadfast is a solid trait. This pawn can cook, they can do social, and most importantly, their intellect is super high. So this is going to be a great pawn for us because when they're not cooking, they're going to be doing research, and when they need to, they're going to go and do social work. So this pawn is absolutely fabulous for what we want. Theo's recommending that I pick one after my favorite song, and I'm drawing a blank to my favorite song. Favorite song, or artist. You know, I don't even have one of those either. But let's see, what's a good song that I like? We're gonna go with Alice DJ, one of my very first favorite techno artists. I know it's a male, but whatever, we'll go Alice. Fine. Gonna be known as Alice. And then we have a mascot here. This is gonna be Goose. Goose is our mascot. So we got Pin, Goose, and Alice. Solid 3. A really nice thing down here at the bottom is it's gonna show you the best skills of all 3 of your pawns show up here. So we can see between the 3 of us, we've got a great shooter, got a solid melee, great builder, great mining, solid cooking, plants of 6, intellect 10, and medical 4. We've got a solid crew. The only thing that doesn't show here, which is unfortunate, is social, because I value social like really high, and we know we've got a good social. One other tip that I really like to do, and this is because I do the no pause, it helps me to grab a pawn when I need them really fast, is I put a little mnemonic right in front of them for me to know that this is my social pawn. I put an S. Any pawn that's got a 6 or higher is getting an S in front of their name, because in a pinch, I can grab them and arrest someone 100% of the time, every time. Goose, he's at 5, he's not getting that S. 10 is a medic. We're gonna put a M there. Anytime they're a 3 or a 4, they get an M, and they go up to 5 to 10, they're a doctor. Above that, they become a surgeon. So this mnemonic helps me in a pinch, so I'm not needing to get flustered and looking in, oh, who's my doctor? Oh, who's my social pawn? Just really, really helpful. So we're gonna start with these 3. Remember, my recommendation is temperate forest. Do not start in a desert unless you're looking for some issues. But hey, if you wanted to, be a little masochistic, go for it. We're going into the desert. We're launching right now. So this is no pause. I'm going to do my best to explain as we go. You would usually use wood. We're going to be doing a lot of things with steel. And depending on the temperature when we get in there, we either need to prioritize a really small building, or my favorite is going straight to a barracks. Since we know it's Cassandra, we know her schedule. We know that we can fight off a single raider that she's going to send day 5. We know that we can fight off a single animal. So just depending on what the temperature is, this was a colder desert. We might straight go for that. If it's really hot, we're going to need a small little area. That way we can put in some temperature control. So here we go. So right away, I'm going to toggle this one, and I'm going to take off the house, and I'm going to put on these 2 to kind of see around. Now this looks like a great opportunity to start right here. So we're going to create our stockpile right here. And then we're going to go into orders, and we're going to allow all. I did a right click there, and I did unforbid. They're going to start moving all of our stuff right over there. So we want to start putting up a small little area here. Temperature is cold. So we might actually need to get some heat going in here instead of what I was thinking of temperature control for cool. So these toggles here, the orange is where I can't build. Yellow is not so good soil. That's where we're going to be planting our wood and such. So we're going to get some ponds going right here. We're going to get them building. I start off a table first thing. Actually, let's look around. Z hits our search of things that are on the map. That's close by table. That's close by table. Okay, we're going to go with this one. We're going to claim that. And then we're going to reinstall it right here. Get rid of that. So they're going to go ahead and grab that, throw that right over there. Now we don't have to use resources on that. Next, we're going to build a chair. And you notice I'm using wood here, or not wood, I'm using steel. That's very important because we might need our wood either for temperature to keep things cool or keep things warm. So we're going to be able to build a door here. How much wood do we have, or steel? We're going to have a lot of steel on the map. If I expand all the way out, double click steel, 758. We're going to put a steel door there. And then we're going to just close in this area. And this is going to be our starting area. We're going to put a couple beds right here. Just right here, we're going to build out a much bigger spot. So I've got a tool here that allows me to plan things out. And actually, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you without having that mod. So I like to do 25 by 25 typically. That's my go-to is 25 by 25. So I can make up this big square. We got the best viewers coming in. We're going to just go ahead and give them the old ban. Good luck, buddy. All right, so we got our 25 by 25, and then I removed the inside of it. Oh, we got new lovers already. That's actually excellent because when they're lovers, they get mood increase. So I do this little 13 by 13 quadrants. Now we've got 4 13 by 13s. We're going to start building right here. Just close this in. And we're going to go with steel just because it's going to be more abundant for us on this tile. I'm going to build inside of here. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to look for... it actually doesn't even matter inside here. Right there. Right there's fine. We got some doors. We're going to make this little area our enclosure. We've got 3 beds now. We're going to have some eating area. We want recreation. Rec is important in this game, keeping our pawns happy. That's a good spot for that. You want a chess table is really good for them. Really good activity. So right now this is a good start. We're going to want to get planting done right away. So we're going to put down some grow areas. And for us, it's going to be potatoes. Potatoes are going to be the best thing for us. Usually on a map, I like rice. Potatoes grow well in this not so good soil. Not so good soil is yellow. Green is good. And then there's a darker green that's even better. Fertile soil. We're going to go right here with this. And we're just going to come up that way. And we're going to go down this way a little bit. Rule of thumb is you want... See how I'm seeing the size here? I've got a size 71. You want 60 on good soil for 3 ponds. So we're going to go a little bit more. Like 82 is good. And that's going to allow if our planter botches or anything like that. This is what we're going to start with right there like that. When this, we're going to say, hey, you know what? Don't work on that chest table. Don't work on that chair right away. Get our walls up just in case it gets cold. Only 60 right now, but hey, it might get colder. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in and adjust this. This is, it keeps things simplified. We went into work. I'm going to make it so that I manually control them. I want my pawns firefighting first. The way to look at this, things that are set 1 are done first. Things that are set 4 are done last. Things that are on the left are done first. Things that are all the way on the right are done last. So 1 here is going to be done before 1 here. So I want them firefighting the very first thing. I want them being patients the very first thing, except for my doctor. Doctor's going to be 1 and then patient 2. Just in case he gets hurt, he's not waiting for someone to come heal him. He's going to heal himself before he lays down to get rest. Bed rest, I'm going to leave at 3 because this is when they get hurt or sick, they'll go rest. I'm going to manually control this with 3 pawns. I want them doing basic things. For the warden, I've got my specialist, Alice here. That's going to be number one, because she's not going to be doing that all the time, but when that task come up, she needs to do it. For handling, this is animals. I just give everyone a 3. Actually, I give everyone a 4. For our best cook, I want them doing 1. Hey, Pesky, welcome in. For our cook, I want them always cooking for us higher than everything else, besides wardening, besides the basics. We want everyone set to hunt 4. If they're melee, I'm going to take that off, but for now, we're going to leave that 4. My builder, I want them always building ahead of other things. My growing pawn, I want them always growing, especially right now, ahead of everything else. We want mining to be a little bit higher priority, or lower priority rather. And we're going to set our smithing and our tailoring to be 1 also here. Actually, we're going to do it 2. Because when we might grab a better... No, I'll go 1. I'll go 1 here. Because we only specify things to be crafted when we want them to be crafted. They're not going to be doing that all the time. And then we're going to set each of them to be a 3 for crafting, 3 hauling, 3 cleaning. We're going to remove art. And we're going to... I always do research for anyone that's possibly able to research. But the very last thing. So they're going to go through everything else, all their other chores. If they don't have any other chores, they're going to research. So they've completed that work. They're now taking a little siesta here. Our temperature is rising. We're in spring. I'm not thinking we're going to need a fire. We might not. Since I know this game pretty well, and I know that I can handle a raider coming in, I'm actually going to do something that I would say maybe... You know what? I'm just going to do it out the way I would say for a beginner. We're going to put a stone cutting table inside. Me, when I'm doing this, I put it on the outside. I'm not worried about defending it. But if you're new to the game, nothing wrong with throwing it in here. They're going to build this out of... do we want wood? No, we don't want wood. We want to do it with steel, like I was talking about earlier. Welcome in, Pesky. We are doing a over-explaining run. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Just a little chill event after today. We did a crazy toolkit challenge. A lot of crazy things happening. This is just going to be a chill, fun, flow run here. So one thing I like to always do is I like to put my best shooter on the right. So we got a 3, an 8, and an 8. I have 2 good shooters. So Alice, she's already wearing flak. That's good. She's going to grab a plasteel knife. And what I just did there is I put that into a queue. Right, she was doing a task. I held shift, I right clicked it, and then I told them to pick it up. Instead of just running right there and picking it up, they're going to go do what they were doing before. And actually, I'm going to say cancel because I think they're going to pick up both of those. Let me show you a different person. So we got pin playing. I'm going to say pin, grab that. I'm holding shift and I click that. I'm holding shift down the whole time and it put that into a queue. And you can queue multiple things up just by holding down shift the whole time. Goose is out there planting potatoes. Goose is going to come in and Goose is going to grab, it's saying sowing sweet potato or just regular potato, whip revolver. So right now we don't have any lighting in here. We're going to give them a little bit of light. That helps them with their mood increase. I'm typically not so worried about it because if we click on a pawn, we can see their needs here. When they start off crash landed like this, they start off with this mood increase of 30. Their mood is shown right here. We want it generally over here all the way to the right. That's when they're their happiest. But right now they're fine. These little dashes here indicate breaking points where then they could potentially have breakdowns. And there's lots of different breakdowns and they come in 3 different categories. There's minor, major, and extreme breakdowns. And they have all different kinds. They're all fun to see. So we've got this start going basic here. I'm going to say I've got Pin building that right now on their own. I can say right click here, go work on that. The progress for that stays. There's work left. They went and made that. Now they're coming back. When they're working in light, they're going to be more productive. So it's better for us to get that light going. They're going to do a better job. Their mood's going to be better. So I just took this toggle off because it's really a pain in the eyes to see. We took that off, and then I'm going to take this other overlay. This overlay makes it so that you can see what you can't build on. So this is soft sand. So if I just click anywhere on the map, I can see right down here on the left side what my mouse is over. Stony soil, sand, soft sand. Soft sand makes it so that we can't build some materials on. We might build, can we build? We can't even build that. But look, we could build wood walls. Wood walls are able to be built on that, but we don't want to build wood walls. We got some chests going. We got some horseshoes. We got beds. We got a table. Our pawns will be very happy eating at a table. They get really upset when they're not eating at a table. We've got a lot of potatoes out there. We've got someone still hauling. Alice is going back out for some steel. And you remember when I started the game, I went into orders. I went into allow all. There's no items on the map which are forbidden right now. So they're going to haul all these things of steel, which are good for us because we want to have access to that steel. Now, one thing that I like to do is we have all these items inside of our room. If you hit G, you can see the impressiveness. There's a little bit of a hack here to keeping your pawns happy. And that's by making this into a hospital. And we can make this into a hospital by placing these sleeping spots and then changing them to medical. And just a second ago, I clicked over there and it was a room. Now it's a hospital. I delete that one. Look, it goes back to a barracks. Put this one back in. And now we've got a hospital again. Early on, I said I prefer barracks. Barracks are great when you've got this impressiveness, that thing at the top. When it says that it's impressive or slightly impressive, you get a mood increase. Anytime it's below that, then they get a mood decrease. So up until the point of us getting that impressive, we want this to remain a hospital because that helps with their mood. Another thing that I can do is I can make this zone. So we made this zone. This is how they move things. It's called the stockpile zone. We built that, and that was just the default setting. I'm going to change the priority of this to low. And I'm going to remove all the items from that. I'm going to keep it. Actually, I'm going to make it preferred. And I'm going to change this. So that one's low. This one's preferred. And I'm going to make it so that we just put raw resources. The reason I'm doing that, all the raw resources that I want out here, I'm going to exclude gold and I'm going to exclude silver. All of these items that are going out there won't erode in weather except for a very long time with wood. Wood takes a very long time to break down. So we're going to have them haul all of that stuff out there, and that'll help with this being prettier. If I'm thinking ahead, and I want to think ahead in this game, I actually don't want it here because we're going to build out into that. So I'm going to expand this over to here, and then I'm going to shrink it there. That way they're going to move everything there. Because soon, once we start making some stone, we're going to move our walls out to these perimeter here that I built. And you'll see that in a little bit. One thing that I didn't do is we have lovers and we want them to have a bed together. So we're going to change this so that we build a piece of furniture, steel. And you know what? We're just going to put it right over there. It's going to be in the same room, whatever. They're not shy. Once that gets built, we can put Alice and Pin in the same bed. Now let's look at their skills. Pretty great memory, quick sleeping, nimble, psychically sensitive, steadfast. So Goose is going to sleep quicker than the others, depending on the bed. The quality of the bed affects how they sleep. So there's this rest effectiveness. A normal bed, 100%. A good bed is going to get a little bit better, 108. Normal bed, that's the same that we were just looking at. A sleeping spot is going to be less effective. They're only going to get 80% rest effectiveness. Another thing to think about is the surgery success. And that comes into the cleanliness of your room and also what kind of bed you're using. So going to our cleanliness of our room, we want them to clean, but they won't clean anything unless it's in their home zone. So we go to zone, expand home zone, and we're actually going to put this into our home zone right here. Everything that's inside here for now. So anything inside of there, they're going to clean. Also, if it gets broken, we've got this toggled right here. They're automatically going to rebuild things that are in our home zone. We have a pup here. We want this pup. This pup could actually be pretty helpful for our run. Dogs have the ability to haul things for us. So we're going to actually move this or create a doggy sleeping spot right in here. And dogs usually come bound to someone, and they're bound to Goose. So Goose is actually gonna get a mood increase because they've got a dog. Igor's master. We should make the dog Diago. So Goose is my cat. Diago is my dog. Goose is definitely Diago's master. Aren't you, Goose? Goose is laying right next to me right now. So we have this mod, no pause, makes it so I cannot pause, but I can go to speed 4. You cannot do that without a mod. Very, very nice. I can pause here by hitting escape, but it takes away every single thing. I can't be active with anything. In the base game, you can hit pause and then you can go into these menus while they're paused and plan things out. So we got a normal bed. We're gonna put Pin and Alice in there. Remember this rule, we need 1 extra, otherwise it becomes a bedroom. Now it's a hospital. We're gonna set owners and we're gonna put Alice and Pin into that bed. And we can go ahead and take away one of these beds or just leave it there. I'm gonna plan out, because I like to add a little storage room for food and a storage or a prisoner room. And then also I like a fighting area right out here. So we're gonna create some more plans. I'm gonna go down 7 from that midpoint. I'm gonna go up 13 and then I'm gonna go right over. So this is gonna be a room here in a minute. We'll decide what it is. I'm gonna go up 9 more, I'm gonna go across, then I'm gonna go up 7 more. We went up 7 there, over like that, then down 13. So that's my 2 additional rooms. They're like wings. And this is going to be where I'm going to put this out there eventually. Actually, they've got it built. I'm going to go ahead and have it reinstall out there. So they'll go ahead and move it in a minute. They're starting to clean. That's great. Once we get that built, and I'm actually going to build a second that helps move things along faster, having 2. We have to look for what kind of chunks we have on the ground, because that's what we're going to make our stones from. We have limestone and we have granite. Granite is the strongest stone to build with. Limestone is meh, just in the middle. It's not the fastest to work with. It's not the strongest. So we're going to go with creating a granite bill. So they're not going to do any work on this until we create a bill. We're going to load a bill, and I've got this already with one of my mods. I'll show you without it. We're going to do granite. I'm going to change that to do forever or do until. I'm going to go into details. I'm going to say do until 250. And then I'm going to say we're going to unpause at 200. I'm going to say drop on the floor, and I'm going to, we'll leave that unlimited. And then I can copy this and I can paste it over to here. So now we've got them crafting on both, and they'll craft 3 if everything else over here is completed, except for the 4s. These 4s they won't do until these 3s are done. These 4s they won't do until everything's done. This 2 will get done after all of the 1s, and then it'll do the 2s, and then it'll do the 3s, and then it'll do the 4s. So since we're on a desert, one thing that's important is chopping down wood when it becomes grown to 100%. So if we see anything that says ready to harvest, we're going to say, hey, go chop that down. And there's a way to get them to do this without me manually doing this. The way to do that is to create a grow zone. And let me cancel that just so you can see. We're going to create a grow zone. We're going to expand that grow zone here. And I'm going to say no sowing, but I'm going to leave on allow cutting. So when something in this grow zone gets to ready to harvest, they'll come and they'll harvest that automatically for us. And so if I put that around areas where there's trees growing, they'll wait till they're at 100% and then they'll go harvest them. I can like expand this out. Oh, it won't let me put it on the ground, so it won't extend over, which is unfortunate. Here comes Goose. Gonna harvest that tree. And I didn't tell him to cut it, but he's doing it because it's in this grow area. That's just another way to get them to do it. I'm gonna be targeting it right now. But look, we are getting our granite. So we're going to start building out a prison room first. A room in case a wanderer comes in and we're like, oh, that's a good one. We want them. So I like to do 6 away. And this, I don't put the corners in right away because it allows me to minimize work, get that done quicker. And we're going to use steel doors still. I put one right there. And then I put one on the outside here. And the reason I do that is when we actually get a prisoner, if they have 2 doors, they're more likely to escape. So if I put the door on the outside, and then when we get a prisoner, I just put a wall there. And then when the prisoner is done, I open it up, and that allows us a quicker pass through here. Just a quicker exit point. So that's the basics. I'm going to start just kind of going a little bit faster, getting things put up. If you have any questions, feel free to, stop by, comment. I'm going to go ahead and post this video on YouTube as kind of like a beginner tutorial. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me on YouTube. And hope you enjoy. So if anyone has any questions in here, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we're going to start moving along a little bit faster.